Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Naomi Rodda. I am one of the directors of social work at the Motion Picture and Television Fund, MPTF. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I was asked by staff at ACE to talk with all of you this evening about MPTF programs and services and how we support people in the industry. So I will usually start this presentation by talking just generally about our different programs and services, and then I always leave time for Q&A at the end. I do just want to start with one caveat, which is that MPTF is a Southern California-based organization. And so accessing our programs and services is primarily for people that are based in California. We do not have a national presence. So if you are coming to us from New York or Atlanta or some other production hub, just know that these programs and services are California based, and that eligibility for our programs requires that an individual work primarily or pay taxes primarily on their work in California. So again, thank you for joining us. We are a 103-year-old social service organization founded in 1921 by Mary Pickford, Charlie Chaplin, and Douglas Fairbanks, really to support people in the industry who were struggling financially. And so MPTF really started as a relief fund. And in the 1940s, Jean Hersholt, who at the time was president of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, bought a significant amount of land in Woodland Hills, Calabasas, which is in the West San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles. It was all orange groves at the time, and bought that land and then gifted it to our organization under the auspices of providing a retirement home for people who were aging and had no place to go. This is before Social Security, and so the mission of MPTF, which is taking care of our own, has really been, in place for over a century. So I thought I would talk a little bit about our programs and services that we are currently running. The main program that I think many people over the last 5 years have really intersected with is our community social services program. The mission of this program is to support working age industry members who may be experiencing periods of unemployment, underemployment, or disability. This cohort, the staff of this program, have been instrumental in providing support to our industry members during the COVID, during the strikes, and then again in the early part of 2025 for the Los Angeles area communities that were severely impacted by the wildfires. So some of the things that are done in this program include temporary financial assistance, case management, information and referrals to other resources. Most of our financial assistance is geared toward basic living expenses such as rent, mortgage, utilities, things like that. And we use a clinical case management model, which we are not a private therapy practice, but we do, use social work practice. We do apply social work practice, social work principles to all of the work that we do with our clients. So it's not simply you call us, you meet our guidelines, we give you a check because you are, struggling with a lack of work or something else. We really endeavor to understand the whole person, to know what's going on, not just, in this crisis, but kind of overall, and shore people up.
On a Zoom call, it's time to play.
Yeah. So can I just ask everyone that's on the call to mute themselves? That'd be great. I'm not, I'm many things, but Zoom savvy is not always in my wheelhouse. So it'd be great if everybody could mute themselves. Okay. The next program I'd like to highlight is our program called Elder Connection. The purpose of this program is to, again, provide clinical case management and financial support to community-based retired industry members who are over the age of 65, as well as support for working age industry members who are caring for their parents. These parents may be industry or non-industry. I mean, we know that the industry is, often generational. We have, people whose grandparents have worked in the industry than their parents themselves. But the idea behind this program is, we all know that the industry is not always family friendly. And when people start to struggle with caring for their aging parents, which could look very different, I like to use the idea of caregiving in a very broad way. Caregiving to me doesn't mean hands-on care. You're living with your parents, you're helping them, shower, making their food, all that. I mean, caregiving is IT support. Caregiving is grocery shopping. Caregiving is picking up their prescriptions. Caregiving is, helping them navigate their doctor's appointments. It's many things. And I think, people often do not identify as caregivers when they often are. And I have a whole nother presentation that I do about caregiving, but that's just a little kind of my philosophy around why our program doesn't not only supports people in the industry, but parents of industry members, because we want people in the industry to be able to work and to be able to take care of their parents, and that's often very daunting. So the types of things that we provide in this program are needs assessments, counseling, home visits. We do a lot of facilitated family meetings around things like care planning. Is there a trust in place? Is there powers of attorney in place? What do I do if my parent, God forbid, ends up in the hospital and I don't know what to do? What if I'm noticing a lot of dings on the car and we need to have a discussion about driving? So these are all the kinds of facilitated family conversations that we offer. None of us are afraid to, get down and dirty with these types of issues. And often we find that having these facilitated conversations can open up important dialogue. It's often hard to talk to one's parents about these things, but sometimes having a neutral third party who's objective and, has no sort of history, those kinds of conversations can be very helpful in moving the needle around things that need to be discussed. We do have a program. It's in partnership with the Entertainment Community Fund, also formerly known as the Actors Fund. And this is our health insurance program. And the mission of this program is to provide affordable health insurance alternatives for people who are losing their employer-based coverage. So if you're covered under MPI or you're covered under some or other employer like a studio, and for whatever reason you lose coverage, this program is meant to help people remain insured, in all possible, now that we have the Affordable Care Act, to make sure that people remain insured. We also do a lot of work around the transition to Medicare. This is a very important transition. The implications of not doing this transition correctly are lifelong. And it's one of my personal passion projects because I've seen a lot of people make very grave errors in this transition. And so I'm very committed to doing a lot of education around a proper transition and enrollment in Medicare. And the staff of this program, basically, they are licensed brokers. This is a national program because we are in partnership with the Entertainment Community Fund. So a person does not have to be based in Southern California. We're providing health insurance alternatives all over the country, as well as Medicare, Medi-Cal, and Medicaid if people need that. Another important program that I wanted to discuss is our palliative care program. The mission of this program is to support members of the industry who are age 18 and older, who are facing a life-changing or life-limiting illness. There is more and more discussion about palliative care these days, but it often is confused with hospice. They are not the same thing. And it's important for people who are facing a life-changing illness. Does not have to be cancer, can be anything, heart disease, Parkinson's, cognitive impairment. We've had people as in their 30s and 40s in this program, and not just people who have a cancer diagnosis. But we find that people who are struggling with a life-changing diagnosis, who come on service of this program, have better outcomes. They have fewer hospitalizations. Their quality of life tends to be better. The longevity tends to be better. It's a really pretty remarkable program in terms of what is provided. It is run by an interdisciplinary team that is made up of a doctor, a nurse practitioner, a social worker like myself, and a chaplain. And the philosophy behind this program is really to manage, to focus on symptom management and quality of life. And one of the myths about palliative care is that it's the same thing as hospice, which is not true. We have many people who are on palliative care services who are in the most experimental clinical trials that there are, and do want to continue experimental treatment, and those palliative care and clinical trials can go hand in hand, and often do. So this is another one of my big passion projects. In addition to being a licensed clinical social worker, I am a federally accredited VA claims agent. And one of the things that our Veterans Benefits Program does is it assists veterans and their families of all ages and conflicts in securing monetary benefits from the VA. The VA as a system is incredibly difficult to navigate. I'm sure, as it's one of our largest government agencies, the bureaucracy is quite something. But these benefits are out there. They provide tax-free financial stability for life for people who are eligible. The person does not have to have seen combat in order to access these benefits. Also a ton of mythology about the VA and about veterans benefits. But this is a very, we find that people who qualify for this program and who entrust us to help them facilitate their benefits, find financial stability, especially in times when the industry can be up and down. So it can be extremely helpful. We have a very robust volunteer program, both on our campus, which is in Woodland Hills, as well as in the community. We provide all kinds of volunteer services: grocery shoppers, tech tutors, friendly visitors, class instructors. And we also have a telephone reassurance program called the Daily Call Sheet, where we provide social calls to industry members who are maybe homebound, who are isolated, and who have limited support. A person does not have to be an older adult in order to receive these services. I think there is a lot of mythology about there that, oh, these types of programs are for people who are retired, who are older. We have people that of all ages that for whatever reason, are not able to work. They may have gone on disability early for whatever reason. And they, when you stop working in the industry, your people's worlds tend to get a lot smaller. And we find that these volunteer programs, especially the Daily Call Sheet, are a really important lifeline, and really combat the social isolation that comes with leaving the workforce for whatever reason. In addition to the programs that we provide for individual clients, we do presentations, much like I'm doing tonight, for staff and for the locals. We do crisis consultations for people. Some of the educational presentations, in addition to the one that I'm doing tonight, I mentioned we have a presentation on caregiving. We have presentations on estate planning, not financial planning, but like what belongs in a robust estate plan. What is the difference between a trust and a will? what does Medicare cover? What does it not cover? All of these aspects of life, work life, retirement, all of that, and helping people to plan and to be proactive in terms of their future. So we do a lot of education around topics of interest. And we have been actually asked by multiple locals across the West Coast, I think because the industry is, in a contraction right now, to continue to provide support around multiple issues as people are sort of figuring out what their next moves are going to be. So I've included in the presentation our intake lines. We have two, but it doesn't matter which one you call. If you call the wrong one, we're still going to call you back. The main intake line is 323-634-3888. That is our main intake line, mostly for clients under the age of 65, but it doesn't matter if you call that one or you call the other one, we're going to get back to you. I've also included my information in case people have individual concerns that they would like to speak to me about. I'm happy to discuss people's individual situations and try to offer some initial case planning and paths to moving forward. My colleague Jennifer George is also on this call. We are kind of like heads and tails, yin and yang. We've worked together for quite a long time, and she's also an incredibly gifted and astute social worker. So that's kind of the end of my formal structured presentation. Wondering if there are any questions. I have a request for slide 2, so I'm going back there. This is the community social services program, which is the primary program for our working age clients. This program serves people under the age of 65, mainly because we had to just choose an age. We know there are many, many people who choose to work past the age of 65. But that's just kind of the age delineation that we have. Yeah, those are that's kind of the general overview of the different programs and services that we offer. If you call us, we're going to call you back and we're going to assess your needs. Even if we, are not ultimately the right organization to help you, even if you are located, outside of Los Angeles, if something is going on and you need assistance, please call us, let us assess, what your needs are, and then we can redirect you, whether it's to the Entertainment Community Fund or to another organization that may be in your community. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and we can certainly at least, get a sense of what's happening and try to put together some resources for you. Are there any other questions about any of the programs that I've discussed? Anything about my background?
I have one. This is Jenny McCormick.
Mhm.
On your website, do you have a list of the programs that are provided that people can reach out and request?
Yeah, definitely check out the website. You can, there's different ways for a person to navigate the different programs that we offer. You can also reach out. We do have a, webmaster, so you can reach out, if you're not ready to call the intake line or you just want to kind of explore, you're certainly welcome to email at info@mptf.com is the web. You can send an email inquiry and we'll get back to you in terms of what it is that you're looking for.
And my second question is about your daily isolation call sheet. Do you actually do you accept volunteers to do things like that?
Yes. So we're looking for callers as well as clients. So
Okay.
if this is something that you'd be interested in, we can definitely put you in touch with the head of the volunteer programs. this is a really amazing way to give back. If you have a little time on your hands, they do try to pair people, based on industry affiliation, industry work history, and we find that it's a really great way for people to, give back to, people that have been mentors and legends in their own time, who are now sort of trying to figure out, who am I now that I'm retired? We know there are so many
Yeah.
people that, once their working time in the industry is over, the transition to retirement is extremely difficult for people in the industry because we find that professional and personal identity are so fused. So many people have been doing this work forever and ever. It's their passion, it's their calling. And because of the hours, in the industry, it doesn't leave sometimes a lot of room for the work-life balance that, is ideal for people. So when that structure and when that community and when that work is no longer there, we find that people often struggle in retirement.
And do you offer training to those people who volunteer?
Of course. Oh, yeah. There's a
Okay.
whole, program that people have to go through. We want to make sure that, people feel comfortable, talking with clients. It is a volunteer program, but the head of that program is in regular contact with the social workers in case there is a client that, a volunteer is concerned about. Then that client would get referred to social services, and we would, intervene and see what was going on, perhaps do a home visit, get other community supports and resources in place. We don't expect, volunteers to be social workers, to be clinicians.
Great.
That's why we're here. Having a volunteer call someone is like an extra pair of ears for us, because, most of us are carrying caseloads of 50 to 60 people. We can't always know what's going on with them every, minute of the day. But we are definitely, there as the professionals, if there are concerns about how someone is doing.
And then some of the other seminars that you offer for groups, we can reach out to you directly to see if maybe you can provide, for instance, an estate planning seminar for our group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes, I've given the presentation several times. It's called Don't Wait, Plan Your Estate. It's basically, we should be engaging in estate planning at a much earlier age than most people do.
Yeah.
Life is not like Grey's Anatomy where, something happens to you, they go boom, 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 and you're all better, so
Right.
it doesn't work like that. And so it's important, to be, and it really is when a person plans their estate, it is a gift, to their family, to their children, to their parents, because we have seen it so many times where people don't think they needed to make an estate plan, or they keep putting it off and say, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. Or they get superstitious and they think, if I plan my estate, I'm going to get cancer. All kinds of things happen around delays in estate planning. And when people delay estate planning and there's a crisis, it is chaotic, and it's extremely difficult to untangle if documents aren't in place, and it's very devastating. It can be devastating financially. It can be devastating emotionally. It tears families apart. So I'm a big believer in talking about these things and sort of dispelling, the myths that are around it, the stigma that's around it, the fear that's whatever's going on for people that they don't want to have this discussion. And including having a discussion with the person's parents. I mean, I'm sure it's not shocking, but I can't tell you the number of, people in their 70s and 80s that we work with that have no estate plan, that have no will, that have no power of attorney in place. And when a crisis happens and these documents aren't in place, it just wreaks havoc. So
Thank you.
That's my soapbox about estate planning.
Yeah,
love
no,
it.
I can back you up on that because everybody I meet, I ask them if they've got, a trust in place. It's so important because if you don't have it done ahead of time, it's the taboo topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. But if you wait until it's too late, it's too hard to get it done while while
A crisis
catastrophe is
is
happening.
a
So
crisis is the absolute worst time to start engaging in this kind of thing.
exactly.
We need to do it, on an ordinary Tuesday. Um,
Yeah.
and there are plenty of affordable, you know, people that do attorneys that do estate planning, setting up a trust is, if there's not a lot of, if the estate itself is not complicated, these things are not expensive. And the amount of protection and like sort of de-escalation of worry that it provides, it's more than worth it.
No, yeah, it really is. It
So,
can save you a lot of money in the end.
and heartache, and like I said, I mean, it absolutely tears families apart when these documents are not in place, and it kicks up all of family dynamics and sibling rivalry from childhood. I mean, we've just seen so many, very, very difficult situations come to pass because people are uncomfortable with the idea that they need to plan their estate. They need to designate a power of attorney. And if they do that, something's going to happen to them. And that's just not true. So there's a hand raised. Emily has a hand raised.
Well, yeah, on that subject, I'm just curious if your seminar covers. So, in my particular instance, I literally have no living family left. And so that's one of my issues, and why I haven't done an estate plan is because I do not know who to hire. I mean, I would hire somebody, but anyway, I'm just curious if you address that for people in a similar in my situation. I don't have people I would want to burden them with, and I literally don't have family who would do that.
So in the particular presentation that I give, it's really like, estate planning 101, like what should go in an estate plan, and why, and really understanding what things are actually covered and what things are not, because I think people are shocked when I start to talk about what's covered under healthcare, even if you're fortunate enough to retire with, MPI, retiree health, which is like the golden, like the Willy Wonka. Like I wish I was going to have that. I mean, there's still a lot of things that are not covered by insurance. And so when an individual is looking at, okay, it's time for me to plan my estate, like what things might I want or need to have in there, just providing some general education about, guess what, this is what Medicare covers, this is what it doesn't cover, this is what you can expect. Social Security, for most people, Social Security alone is not going to cut it in retirement. So, how do we sort of look at all of that stuff? I mean, it's more of a 101, if I mean, I'm certainly, welcome, an email, to discuss this further. I mean, it is difficult when a person doesn't have family to designate a trustee or an executor. But there are fiduciaries out there. There are, professionals out there that could be, there are professional trustees out there. It's not like unheard of.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's why we're talking. So, any other questions or?
I got one more question for you, Naomi. On your website, because I haven't perused recently, does it list requirements or qualifications of what would qualify you for some of these programs? Does the website get that specific?
Our eligibility guidelines are quite nuanced, and we don't put that on the website because it really is very much in the weeds. That's something that when you reach out to us on the intake line, we ask a lot of questions about a person's work history, so that we can try to get a sense at that time whether they would be eligible for certain programs or not. Some of the programs that I discussed do not require eligibility. So like the volunteer programs, you do not have to be eligible to be a volunteer. You know, palliative care, if you're based in California, does not require eligibility for services. But when it comes to financial assistance, as well as living on our campus, those things tend to be the things that require eligibility, because obviously we are a charity and we must be good stewards of our charity dollars. So when it comes to, you know, providing actual money and social work time, you know, that's where eligibility tends to come in more. But I don't want anybody to feel that they can't call us because they're not sure they would be eligible. Like, let us determine that. You know, you do not have to be in the IA. We have a lot of people that work freelance, and, you know, we accept all kinds of work. It does not have to be, you know, union work. That's a myth, you know, that if you're not part of the IA, you're not part of a local or a guild, that you're not eligible. That's not true. We have, especially now that, you know, people are really having to cobble multiple sources of projects together. Some of it's non-union, some of it's union, you know, that doesn't matter to us. So
Good to know.
let us decide, you know, don't not call us because you think, well, I'm not, you know, I don't have active MPI coverage, I'm probably not eligible. That's not true. So.
I had a question about your caregiving. Do you guys provide respite care services as part of caregiving?
If the person was part of the industry, if the parent was part of the industry, then there's a possibility. It would again depend on eligibility. I mean, respite is a broad term.
Yeah.
Respite could mean many things. You know, oftentimes we will direct people to other organizations that we work with that provide respite. You know, there's more than one organization out there that provides respite. And a lot of what we do is actually is resource navigation and linkages to other resources, because no one organization can be everything to everyone, especially in this day and age. You know, we leverage a lot of community partners and resources. We work together with a lot of other organizations when we're putting together a case plan. You know, we're never going to be the be all end all. No organization is, especially in this day and age. So it's really important to have a comprehensive plan. That's why, you know, the VA program is so helpful, because that's one potential area, you know, where there could be money for caregiving. There could be caregiving resources. So we're always looking not just what can we do, but how can we partner with other resources to provide the most comprehensive plan. For example, you know, God forbid a person had MS. You know, the MS Society provides respite. So it would be incumbent upon us, if somebody came to us and was looking for respite for someone that had MS, not only for us to see what we could do, but to link them with the MS Society, and, you know, the MS clinic at Cedars-Sinai. You know, so we're always, any good social service case plan is going to involve very thorough exploration of other community resources, and is not just going to be, we're MPTF, we're the greatest. You know, we can never be the whole thing. We're one piece of the puzzle.
I had a question about the insurance program that you had as well. If a member is like on the verge of losing their hours and maybe just needs a week of hours, when should they plan on kind of seeing you guys to maybe have to make the transition? Is there help with COBRA payments? Is there like, you know, what is sort of a game plan that people can approach?
Please do not call us on the 30th of the month if there are 31 days in the month. Please do not call the insurance plan on the 29th of the month if there's 30 days in the month. Most people, if they're going to unfortunately be losing their MPI insurance, should know at least 30 to 60 days in advance that they're going to be losing their employer-based coverage. When you know that you're going to lose your employer-based coverage, that's the time to reach out to us, so that we can, a person could at least be on our radar, and we can start exploring the best options. Cobra is extremely expensive on the MPI plan and is not sustainable and is not something that we would really be in a position to help with. Cobra for a single individual on the MPI plan is $900 approximately these days. That's for a single person, not a couple, not kids. So, you know, and we're just not in a financial position to be able to sustain people on Cobra. We would probably be looking at trying to help people find an Affordable Care Act plan until they could requalify for their MPI. You know, I would never say never, but it would, you know, we would be looking at Cobra as a possible area of assistance if someone was, say, was undergoing cancer treatment and needed to continue their cancer treatment, or needed to consider, you know, needed to continue some sort of significant medical treatment. We might, and again, you know, all these things are variable, and I don't like to say yes, no, maybe so. You know, each situation is different, and we would really need to assess at the time. But I think people, you know, we need to help people open their minds to the idea that, you know, there are viable health insurance alternatives out there. And for some people, that's really what they're going to need to wrap their minds around until they can requalify for their MPI. We don't want people bankrupting themselves to try to keep their MPI. You know, I know it's the best out there. It's a Cadillac plan. There's nothing else like it. Maybe the government, like maybe if you were in Congress or something, but outside of Congress and the industry, there's no other plan like it. So I get it. And it is devastating when people lose their MPI coverage because there's nothing out there that compares. But if a person's losing their health insurance, it's because they're not working enough to maintain it. And, you know, we need to look at, like, you need to pay your rent, you need to pay your car payment, you need to have your cell phone, like you need to have these basic things in order to continue to try to work. You need to have shelter, you know what I mean? So we really try to look at what is the best use of resources and hope that we can help people on a plan that will provide them the care that they need until they can requalify.
Thank you.
Sean, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Naomi. Speaking of MPI, do you know if in the fall or anytime soon they would give us another option to do a financial withdrawal from our pension?
I don't work for the plan, so I have no insight into that. I mean, I have a lot of, you know, I collaborate with them when there are specific issues. But I have no insight into, you know, and people, I think that's the other thing. People often conflate MPI with MPTF because it's Motion Picture Industry Health Plan and Motion Picture Television Fund. So we often get people who think we're the same thing, but we're not. You know, MPTF is a nonprofit social service organization. MPI is the health and insurance, you know, the health insurance and pension plan. So I do not have any insight into that. I believe they're, you should go to their website. I believe there is a hardship currently that's available because of the wildfires if you're Los Angeles based, but you would really need to explore the website. And again, you know, I understand that the hardship can be helpful when people aren't working, but I always also caution people to be very mindful about taking a hardship withdrawal from their IAP because of the tax implications of doing that. And also you're pulling from your retirement and your safety net for the future. You know, that's just my 2 cents about IAP withdrawals.
Thank you.
Naomi, I was also under the impression that some of the covered California things could qualify for some of the same doctors in the UCLA medical program. Is that correct?
I can tell you that our the people that work in that program, they're always going to try to look for a plan that will allow people to keep their doctors and keep continuity of care.
Okay.
And that is often the case. We are often able to help people have continuity of care. Not in every single situation, and I think a lot of it depends on whether people have very, a lot of specialists, complicated specialists. I think the more specialists you have, the harder the more expensive it can be to kind of maintain continuity of care. But it's not like if you lose your MPI and you go on a Covered California plan, you're gonna have to start over. That's a myth. That's not true.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. We have about 15 minutes if there are other questions. I know I've talked a lot.
I can tell you this has been fantastic, and I know that we're probably going to reach out to you to do additional sort of deeper dives into some of your programs as we move forward.
Right. Happy to do it. Mr. Jim May, do you have a question?
It's not a question as much as it's kind of a plug. I know we've talked about this, sort of the smaller ACE committee that I'm a part of has talked about this, but I just wanted to sort of throw this out to the people who are on this call, this webinar. Naomi, you mentioned that, don't wait until crisis mode to check in with you about some of the things that you've listed, some of the resources you've listed. But I will say this, I was in pretty much crisis mode right after the fire when I think it was via email blast that I logged onto some of the MPTF webinars that were hosted by Jennifer George. Sorry, Jennifer, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. But I got to say that those were wonderful and extremely helpful and informative. Jennifer was liaisoning with folks from FEMA, folks from SBA. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the questions that a lot of us were having were front and center and being really, straight up addressed by the MPTF. And I wanted to thank you guys for that. But also say to the members who are listening and because I know that a lot of people are checking in right now with this, with the idea of being liaisons to sort of the wider, not just ACE community, but also like the MPay community, et cetera, IATSE community. And I just wanted to say and share that with the membership that if something like this is, I guess I just wanted to plug again the MPTF in terms of their ability to respond to these things and to like sort of offer that up as a for me what was a fairly invaluable resource. And we're going to talk later about resources and stuff for the volunteers who are offering for this Connect committee to jump in, help out and stuff. And that's for sure one of the top 5 resources that I would list for membership is to plug into what the MPTF has to offer. So again, not a question, but more of a testimonial for you guys. And then I just want to thank you again, Naomi and Jennifer, for offering this up.
Hear, hear.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
I often, Jennifer knows, and she probably will kill me, but I've known Jennifer. I've been at MPTF for 23 years. I think Jennifer's been at MPTF something like 17 or 18 years, something like that. And I have been telling Jennifer for pretty much the entire time she's been at MPTF that, she's the social worker that I want to be when I grow up. She's just shepherded our teams through, crises after crisis for the last 5 years. And I don't know how she does it. I'm grateful that she's my colleague. I'm grateful for what she's done for, the industry community. And, she's an incredible resource, for all of us. So, and, she's running the heart of the matter when it comes to working age clients. So everyone that's working age that calls is in excellent hands with Jennifer's leadership. Sharon, did you have a question?
Yeah, a couple things. I have been very fortunate to have completely like volunteered back when we would go to people's houses and help them paint and stuff like that and do the landscaping, and totally loved doing that. I know that the person who was doing it back then isn't around anymore. But if there's ever anything like that, please let us know. And I do want to say thank you so much, because even though my mom isn't a member of the industry, I've had so much reach out from, like, we get every 4 to 5 months, the Zoom calls with a social worker and a doctor and a chaplain that just checks in with us, and just to know that I'm doing the right thing for my mother, as a caregiver. So I really appreciate all of you. And I know that they even said that they could send somebody to my house to help me do. I don't know what paperwork I need. I don't know what I don't know. So, and when I'm working, I have auto, money withdrawn each paycheck that goes into MPTF. And I've been doing that for over 20 years, where they just take out a small sum, but by the end of the year or the end of the project, it adds up as a way to give back to you all. So I don't think many people know that they can do that. Do you know what I'm talking
Yes.
about?
Yes, I do. That program has been around a long time. It's called Payroll Pledge. It's been around so long that Elvis used to do it. Maryland used to do it. We actually have their stubs from when, in our historical archives. So that's how long Payroll Pledge has been around. I'm not entirely familiar with it. I think it's something like you give like 0.5% of your paycheck or 1%. You designate how much from your each
Yeah, it could be like $5, right? Like
yeah, it doesn't, yeah, it can be a fixed amount.
$5 a paycheck.
percentage, Yeah.
I signed up for it when you were at Raleigh and you had this whole expo at Raleigh Studios years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to think about it. So
Yes.
when they all go back to work, it'd be a good thing for people to know about.
Yeah, it was much more, I think, formalized when there was more of a studio system. Now that, the studio system is not as kind of, is not so much the employer anymore, and everybody's, work is being done through entertainment partners or cast and crew. It seems like it's been a little harder for people to partake in that. And I mean, that's a little bit outside my
Yeah.
pay grade. I don't know how to, I just know that it's been around a long time. It obviously, we're very grateful for anything that people can do to support the work that we do. I mean, the payroll pledge does, often go toward directly to the things that social services do. It pays for food vouchers, it pays for transportation for clients that don't drive anymore. So, it's definitely worthwhile when people feel like they can,
Mine is through entertainment partners, and I don't even have to. It's when we go from job to job, we have to show them that we're a US citizen, we were born here. But for this money to go to MPTF, I don't have to do anything. It just automatically goes. And the other thing I want to tell everybody too is that when you turn 70, whether or not you need it, you should sign up to get on the list for the motion picture home, because you'll get priority over someone else who just signs up. And even though you may not need it, you can always tell them, you don't need it. And then your name will go, down in the queue again. But it's really good just to like do you know what I'm talking about, Naomi?
Absolutely, I do. Yes. I mean, the eligibility for the campus, it can get a little tricky, because we do require a certain amount of years or hours, depending on, work history. Yes, at age 70, people that are eligible can put their names on the wait list for residential living on the campus if they qualify. I think of it, and we often have these conversations with our clients about that this is an insurance policy. Why do we have insurance? We hope we never need it, right? Why do we pay for car insurance? God forbid we're in an accident, we have it. I kind of see the campus wait list as that insurance. We hope we never need it. We hope we're going to be fine and stay in our home and be independent. And, we're never going to age. We're never going to need care. Like that's everybody's dream. It's not the dream to go and live on the campus, but it is there. It is a huge part of the MPTF safety net. And, the whole, again, the mission and purpose of why we were founded, in 1921 was to be a safety net for people in the industry. I will tell you all transparently, the average age on our campus is 85. Most people are coming to our campus really much later in life than they did 20, 25 years ago. It's not kind of a retirement community like you would think of a retirement community. Most people are coming to us really when they're unable to manage at home anymore. I think people that's why we actually, the retirement, the waitlist age used to be 65. You could put your name on the list, but we moved it up because we were seeing such a skew toward much older clients moving in, that people that were 65 and 70, it was almost like they were part of another generation. So that's why you know, we raised the age to put your name on the list. But yes, when a person's 70, for sure, you should be calling us, you should be getting your eligibility established, you should put your name on the list. And you know, if and when you're ready, you let us know. That's all. I mean, you know, we're not gonna be like, and hopefully, you know, you won't need us. Hopefully you'll age in community, you'll age in place. And we will continue to serve you from a community perspective. So we have about 5 more minutes. I wasn't sure if there were any other questions or comments or concerns, anything else I can maybe answer for all of you tonight. Thank you for spending some time with, you know, with me. I mean, if you're on the East Coast, really thank you because it's late. And you know, this is hopefully the beginning of you know, a series that Jennifer and I are looking at, you know, multiple outreach education type presentations to the industry, you know, to cohorts that are you know, have asked us to provide additional support right now while the industry is, you know, in this contraction and people are less certain about work and you know, the sustainability of a career in the industry. So thank you so much.
Thank you truly for
Yeah.
doing this for us. And we will keep reaching out to you because this clearly is just scratching the surface.
Wonderful.
Thank
No,
you.
we look forward to hearing, you know, to surveying this, you guys, and, you know, if you had colleagues that planned to come and couldn't, or if you know, if what I'm talking about is resonating with you and you're thinking about, oh, you know, you know, someone that I work with on X, you know, could really benefit from some help with their parents or, you know, whatever the case may be. A lot of the way we help people is through word of mouth. So,
And may
you
we
know,
share this recording with the people who couldn't make it today?
I believe it's being recorded. So,
Yeah. Okay, so this is our link, not yours, correct?
oh yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah,
yes, you can. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
No, no. I mean, nothing here is copyrighted. It's
Right.
all for the public consumption. So, yeah, thank you all so much. Again, the website is in the chat. I believe, if I haven't sent the slides to, the people that are, running the show, I will. So that, you know, if you missed anything on the slides, you can look at it, intake line number, all that. And have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.